Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of NOSFAM Talks, this time with a little bit of a time lag. It's been a while since we shot these episodes, but we only want to bring you some of the best changemakers out there. I'm your host Prahlad, founder of the NOSFAM Foundation, an educational NGO that works to empower underprivileged communities through free and high quality education. NOSFAM Talks is basically our platform where we bring together changemakers, thought leaders, and real world problem solvers to spark conversations that go beyond just classrooms, beyond the four walls of a classroom. Our aim is quite simple, in fact. It is to challenge conventional thinking, bring diverse voices to the table, and explore how ideas turn into action. And like every episode in the past and every episode in the future, each episode of NOSFAM Talks dives into topics that matter. From education and youth empowerment to social entrepreneurship and equality and equity. Because we believe that conversations can become the catalyst for real world change. Today's conversation is especially close to that mission. We're going to be talking about the role of digital content in education and gender equality. In India, young people are spending hours every day on social media. Precisely why countries like Australia are thinking of banning social media under the age of 16. In fact, a study by IIM Rohtak found that youth aged 18 to 25 spend an average of nearly 7 hours a day on social media platforms like Instagram, WhatsApp, and YouTube. So at a time when algorithms decide what we see and hear, and we're all consuming so much of this social media, and young people are consuming especially more content than ever, the question then becomes, can social media do more than just entertain? Can it educate? Can it empower? Can it spark real change? And to explore that, I'm joined by someone who's built a very inspiring platform in this very space. Yuvraj Singh is who I'm joined with today, and he's a student of history and political science with a minor in economics at Christ University. He's passionate about observing society and creating meaningful conversations. Alongside his academic journey, he's using his voice to highlight social realities that often go unspoken. Guided by values like empathy and knowledge, he's on a mission to build a generation that just doesn't keep scrolling, but thinks and speaks and acts. Yuvraj is the founder of Namaste WoMen, a fearless, raw, and real platform for students, educators, psychologists, therapists, menstrual educators, NGOs, changemakers, and galore, working silently on the ground for real impact. And as you'll see through this episode, Namaste WoMen isn't just about women, it's about men too. It tackles topics that are seemingly difficult, yet necessary and need to be spoken about, from rape, consent, gender discrimination, to toxic masculinity, men's mental health, and family values, and so much more. Through his initiative, Yuvraj also hosts a podcast, Understanding Views on Women and Men, where real people share what they've seen, what they've felt, what they've heard, because real stories spark real change. With that, Yuvraj, welcome to NOSFAM Talks. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Prahlad, for introducing me and the platform. And I hope the conversation will go very nicely and we will have a very fruitful conversation ahead.
Absolutely. With that, let's start this conversation and let's jump right into it. I want to talk a little bit about Namaste WoMen. So let's start at the very beginning of your story, the beginning of your story, the beginning of the story of Namaste WoMen and the vision behind it. So take us back to the beginning. Could you tell us what was the spark behind starting Namaste WoMen? Like, what exactly do you do?
So it all started by multiple incidents that was happening around me and whatever things I had seen. So the main incident which I would like to pinpoint is the Kolkata rape case, which happened. That case, I was going through everyday news. I was watching every news which was put out by different news channels on a daily basis. What I analyzed from that media, social media, people are impacted totally by what a news channel is telling to them. And then I realized that people are going on roads, people are doing protest over road, But the point is that if you have a political background, if you have control over judiciary, if you have something that can influence other people mindset, you can do anything in front of law. So that time I realized that if these things are happening around, if people don't have a power to ask for justice, people will go on road for 4 days and they will get back to their homes. They will lead a normal life. This is how things will not change. We will ask for justice, political powers or any power can influence the judiciary and then can close up the case which has happened. So I realized that it is important for me personally. If I am speaking about the issues that actually matters in society, I can start from myself. And if people will start talking about what men and women are facing, we can easily create a circle of people who will inspire more people to think like that. So I started to create content. I started and I built this platform so that I'll speak and with me more people will speak on the issues, whatever they are seeing on a daily basis, what they are seeing around, so that they can be a real influencer in the eyes of their family members, then their friends, and then the society.
Awesome. And I must say, it's a really inspiring thing that you're doing. Um, so talk a little bit more about your podcast, because I mentioned about it in the introduction as well. How does the podcast work, and how has that been going in the last couple of months?
So the podcast name is Understanding Views on Women and Men. And this present point of time, what I had realized that it's extremely important to understand views of people, because I can't change your mindset and you can't change my mindset. This is how society is functioning right now. If you have knowledge, if you have certain viewpoints, and if something has happened to you or something is happening to you in the way you have grown up, you will have some of the mentality what the society you had lived in, which will pass on to you from your generations. This is how everything functions. So at that point of time, I realized that it's extremely important to bring people who have worked in different fields, who have worked as a psychologist, menstrual educator, sexuality educators, therapist. Let their views come out so that people who can get inspired, people who have intent to actually speak, can speak and understand how they think. Why a person is calling himself or herself a menstrual educator? Why not any other thing? It's extremely important to understand that if somebody is working for a social cause, if he or she is earning through that by helping somebody, by teaching somebody, by distributing sanitary pads to people, by making them knowledgeable, it becomes very important for everyone to understand the why of what they are doing. So this is why I started this podcast, so that people can understand views of these people and they can help more people out.
No, again, I must say it's very, very inspiring to see. I must ask, I'm a little intrigued now. Now that you tell me, understanding the why behind it is very important, right? And so, what has been the response to your, not only your podcast but overall your work of Namaste Women, right? What's been the response that you've gotten? And this could be from students, educators, communities, just in general, right? Since you're creating such a fearless, real space that you're creating, what is the response that you've been seeing?
So when the day I started Namaste Women, after a few weeks when we were building a team, we got an idea that we can circulate a Google form without asking people's name, without asking people access to their Gmail account. We will circulate a form where we will receive whatever thing a woman or a man has faced in their life, so that they can express them in words. Not if they don't want to show their face, but they can express that in words. That on day one when we circulated the form, we got 10 responses, exactly 10 responses from across different places in India as well as from abroad. So when I started to read that those all the incident which they had gone through, I had no words. Means I was totally blank. That how people are expressing themselves totally without any fear in words. That made us think that yes, people do face certain things in their life which they are not able to express in their families, in their friend circle, but they have gone through. We need to bring those things out. And then we realize that even students, even educators, even communities are going to get knowledge, are going to get to know that these are the incidents which we need to focus on. And we can talk about it, we can share it with people so that they can learn all these things.
Absolutely. And that's really interesting. I must ask just a follow up on this. So when you say you got these responses from different states or whatever, different places in India and also abroad, how do you reach out to these people, because oftentimes, right, when kids are or when high schoolers are trying to build up, NGOs or, small kind of organizations, it's very hard for them to reach out to people. So what was it you did? How did you kind of go out and get, this kind of audience, and where did you find all these people? I mean, how do you go about it?
I started Namaste WoMen through LinkedIn and I was posting things on the issues. Then I realized let's connect it to the people who are working in the similar field. Then the first thing which I did was circulating the Google form. The form by luck got circulated to many people, and even people sitting in abroad were also resharing that form. So that helped me to gain connections with more and more people across. Then I got three people from one from US, one from UK, one from Uganda. They helped me to get connected with people around them, and that is how I was helped by them to actually know people who were there working as an NGO founders or as a person who are helping disabled women in Uganda. I got connected with a lady in Nigeria as well who works as a teach for Nigeria, and we had a conversation, we had a podcast, we talked to each other. That time we talked about specific sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape. The next day she went to her school, she taught about these topics to her students who were there in class 6. That day I felt that if this thing can happen, if this small talk between two of us sitting in different countries can help a group of students to get knowledgeable about rape, sexual harassment, sexual violence, it's extremely important to talk on this. At the end of the pictures, they also sent me a video doing Namaste. So that was much more inspiring for me because she understood what we actually want and she expressed her love through the content she shared it to us.
No, that's truly amazing, and it's kind of these kind of things that make our day, yours and mine both, and that's really heartwarming to see and to hear from you, Yuvraj. Which kind of tells me was something that you said in your response, where you said, I'm sitting here and this other lady is sitting in Nigeria, and we were able to kind of have this conversation, right? And it brings us to the crux of this topic that we're going to be discussing today, right?